Okay, welcome back. According to a black girl, I am your host, TC, and I am coming to you to share my experience, not only in the corporate world, but traveling and just my day to day experience and how I live as a black girl, according to me. All the things I talk about are subjective. You can agree to disagree. It doesn't really matter. Um, but these are my truths. Today, I recorded something earlier today and it was a little bit blurry. So apologies about that. I'm still going to post it. I don't care. One of my problems is sometimes the content turns out not to be as good as I'd like it to be. So I end up like scrapping it and just forgetting about the whole thing. But not this time. I will not be doing that. I'm still going to post it, even though the visuals are a little bit blurred. Also, the audio. I tried like a different audio platform. I didn't love it. It was a bit of echo, so I went back to Audacity, which is the one that I use normally. So yeah, all that to say, I'm back. I'm here. What's up? What's good? What y'all got going on? How has everybody been doing? I'm great for the most part. So today I wanted to talk about the black girl, daughter, father experience. And again, this is subjective. This is my personal experience or even my personal opinion about some things. Like, don't take this and run with this. I mean, like you can, but how far is it going to get you? I mean, really. Anyway, all that to say, like I said in the beginning, it's subjective. It's based off of my own experience. I, my father and I have a really rocky relationship. I wouldn't say rocky. I would just say it's very sparse with communication because I didn't grow up with him. Like, he's very inconsistent. He's getting better, but, shout out to you, Dad. Don't be offended. But, yeah, so we have an interesting relationship. It's been inconsistent throughout my life. I've known of him, I've known about him. My mom didn't like bash him, as some people say, or like some people do. In our communities, I'm not gonna say it's a norm because like I know a lot of people that grew up with their father. I just did not grow up with mine, and it's unfortunate, but I did have male figures in my life. So I don't want people to think that just because you grow up without a father that you aren't going to be successful or competent, or you're going to have like daddy issues and things of that nature. That's not the case. That's not always the case. It's always based off of how you were raised, who you were raised around, just your upbringing, period. Things, it could change from person to person. So each individual obviously has a different type of experience if they did not grow up with the father. All that to say, I did not grow up with mine, but I knew who he was. I knew where he lived. I knew how to get in contact with him. I just chose not to do that because I mean I'm a kid. At that point, it wasn't. It was irrelevant to me at the time. But recently, him and I, we were able to kind of reconnect, revisit, and talk and just dissect some of the things and the questions that went on in my head when I was growing up. I never, I never hated him. I was never resentful for anything that happened in the past because that had nothing to do with me. Honestly, I didn't care. I could care less. I was just living living life. I was there living life, as Courtney would say, Courtney Kardashian. But My mom, she was, you know, my current stepdad. I'm like stuttering over my words. I'm sorry, y'all. But my stepdad has been in my life for quite some time. He's been in my life since I was like 5, so young. My mom and him were dating when I was younger. Um, they worked together. So, like, he got me my first pair of skates. He got me my first, like, decent drivable car. When I come home, I can always count on him to hand me his keys so I can drive his new 2020 Silverado Chevrolet truck. Just we have a great bond and a great situation. So I appreciate all that he has done for me and my upbringing. So I I'm not gonna say I was missing anything, but he's like I said, he's been in my life for quite some time. And there have been countless of things that he's done. He's even like, I used to text him when I was in school, when I was in high school. I'd be like, hey, can you bring me a sub sandwich? I was such a trifling ass kid. Didn't want to eat lunch. Asking my stepdad for a sub sandwich. Back when I was eating meat. I was so trifling. Um, but yeah, so my mom and my stepdad didn't get married until like 1999. What a year. I wasn't born in 1999. I just, 1999, everybody was scared, going into 2000. I just remember that like it was yesterday. But it's just funny to me, like how things transpire throughout my life. Again, like my stepdad and my mom, they've been together for a while, but throughout the years, I just I was around a lot of male role models in my family. I would so I don't know if every black family did this, but in my black family, every summer my mom would try to find somewhere for us to go. Most of the time we ended up with my auntie Cheryl. My auntie, she was married, and her husband have been together since before I was born. So, like, I saw that dynamic, a relationship, a marriage that could, work. They're still married to this day. I'm not going to say that they haven't had issues. Like, all married couples go through things, but I used to be with them like almost every summer. I grew up with my cousins like siblings. Like, we were always together. We were pretty much raised together. They legit are my siblings. Like, those are the closest things that I know. I mean, not to take anything away from my brothers and sisters, but those are the closest things that I know to siblings. Like, we legit grew up together. We had experiences and we fought. It was a time. But growing up with my auntie and uncle, that kind of helped to, I guess, create some normalcy for me and my visual for a male figure. That's why I would say there are some things, obviously, that I think about. And me and my father, we've actually talked about it like current day. Some of the things that probably contributed to, my success. But though being around my auntie and uncle were helpful to help me to understand what a family marriage dynamic could be potentially. So I had that. I also would stay with my grandparents a lot. And obviously, if you're in the South, I grew up in Mississippi. A lot of the things that happened for me were arguments when my granddad would drink. But I didn't see that often because, like I said, we were there for summers. So he wouldn't drink as often during the summers, but when we did live in Louisville, or when we did live in my hometown, Louisville, Mississippi, whoop whoop, um, giving them a shout out. But yeah, when we did live there, we obviously, me and my brother, we saw things that my other cousins didn't see. So it was what it was. But my granddad and my uncle, they were the male figures in my life, and God rest my granddad's soul, because he taught me so much. um like my first car, he was contributing to that. He was also contributing to my first job, my love for plants, and just a lot of stuff that I do today. He It's because of him. I get a little teary eyed because he was so special to me, and obviously he's special to all of us. But I just think of all of the things that I do now, because of him. I drink coffee because of him. Um, but it's good, because there are things about me that I realize that I look for in a guy. So I think that shapes helps me, or that shaped who I am today. But moving on, one thing that I knew I wanted, I have a daughter, and she always corrects me when I says daughter. She's like, "Why don't you say daughter?" So I have a daughter. She is 12, and even though her and my ex, like, even though me and the ex are not together, her father and I, we aren't together. But one thing that I wanted for her, was something I didn't have. I wanted to make sure that I didn't tarnish the relationship that my daughter and her father had. I didn't want to spew out any negativity about him. I didn't want to dismantle her thoughts when it came to him. When our first disagreement happened, he used to say stuff like, she was very young. He would say stuff like, "Oh, you're trying to keep me from my daughter." I did not want that notion floating out there. I didn't want him to be able to go to her and say, "I'm keeping him from her." I didn't want that to happen. So at the age of 5, I got her a cell phone. I made sure he had her number. I made sure that she put in the effort, even though, like, it shouldn't happen like that. It should be the father putting in the effort. I just made sure. I didn't care. I was just like, "Hey, call your father," or I would, even call him. I would, dial his number and give her the phone, and tell her to say, because she was very great at articulating her thoughts and things like that. She wasn't one of those 5-year olds that didn't know how to talk, and that was doing other things. She would get on the phone and she would actually hold a conversation, and that's what I wanted for her. That Because that's not something that I could, that's not something that I had experienced. I couldn't pick up the phone. Well, today I can, but previously, when I was her age, I couldn't pick up the phone and call my father, because I didn't have his, like, direct line. I didn't have his number. But all that to say, I just didn't want to distort her viewership of her father. I wanted to make sure that their relationship was their relationship and it was intact. And if she formulated any thoughts or any, ideas about her father, those would be on her own, based off of how he was going about, ensuring that he communicated with her. So it was basically up to him to ensure that he was communicating with her and to talk to her consistently. But she they have a relationship, which is all I wanted. So I was good with that. But all that to say, I know, like, it's different with each black family or black people. It could be white people too, Asians, I don't know. It's more predominant. I don't know the statistics, but I've seen a lot more in the South, um, black families where the father isn't with the mother, and I know it can be detrimental. My some of my siblings that have the same dad as me, they blamed him for their upbringing and for things that happened to them. I don't blame him, but that's their truth. Like I can't take that away from them because that's what they experienced. I don't blame him. I contribute him not being there to my growth. And I am very happy and excited that, him and I have found a newfound relationship, and I'm hoping that it can continue to grow. But I want to hear from y'all. Do you know any black families or families, period, that, experience that father daughter dynamic where it's either tainted or it's, prosperous and successful? I just want to hear from you. Tell me about your experience and how your father's contributed to some of your successes or contributed to some of your failures. But I always try to think like if there are failures, you contribute to those failures. You can't like put that on somebody else, but people try. But thank you for listening and thank you for just engaging. I hope everybody has a beautiful day, and I'm wishing everybody a happy 2021. Peace.